Have you ever wondered what you would do if one single decision could save hundreds of lives, but also risk your own forever? What if the person everyone believed had disappeared years ago was the only one who could stop a disaster that was already counting down? The cold wind moved across the mountains as the first light of morning slowly appeared behind the rocky peaks. Thick clouds covered most of the sky, making the world below look darker than it really was. Far away from cities and highways, a forgotten military observation station stood alone on top of a cliff. The building looked old from the outside, but inside it was filled with the latest communication equipment. Captain Adrian Cross stood near a large window without saying a word. He was not the tallest man in the room nor the loudest. In fact, most people who met him for the first time thought he looked like an ordinary traveler. His calm face, simple clothes, and quiet voice never suggested that he had once completed rescue missions that people still whispered about years later. The only thing that made others pause was his eyes. They never stopped watching. Every movement, every shadow, every small detail. Adrian had learned long ago that danger almost never announced itself loudly. It arrived quietly, sometimes with a single mistake, sometimes with a single lie. A young communications officer hurried across the room carrying a small tablet. "Captain, headquarters just sent another message." Adrian slowly turned around. What changed? The missing research team still hasn't answered. Satellite images show strange vehicle tracks around their last known location. Adrian looked at the digital map. 7 small blue dots marked the scientists. A large red circle surrounded the area where contact had been lost. No signals. No emergency beacon. Nothing. The silence itself felt dangerous. If suspense keeps you guessing, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Every click encourages more original stories like this one. Another officer entered carrying fresh coffee. No survivors have ever stayed silent this long. Adrian accepted the cup but never drank it. He continued studying the map. The missing scientists had been working on a clean energy project inside an isolated research valley. Officially, their work was meant to improve emergency power systems after natural disasters. Unofficially, only a handful of people knew the project had another purpose. It could power entire cities for weeks without fuel. If that technology reached the wrong hands, governments around the world would race to control it. A knock interrupted everyone's thoughts. General Marcus Hale entered the operations room. Every conversation stopped immediately. The general walked directly toward Adrian. "I hoped I would never need to ask you again." Adrian smiled slightly. "You usually call only when things become impossible." Marcus nodded. "That's exactly why you're here." He placed a sealed folder on the table. "Open it." Inside were several photographs. Destruye vehículos. Burned communication towers. Empty roads. One final picture showed the research station from above. Every entrance had been blocked. No movement. No smoke. No signs of life. "It looks abandoned," Adrian quietly said. Marcus answered immediately. "It only looks abandoned." The room became silent again. Thermal scans. Inconclusive. Drones? Lost. Ground teams. Never returned. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Adrian finally looked up. "So this isn't just a rescue mission?" Marcus slowly shook his head. "No. It's something much bigger." Enjoying the mystery? Help the channel grow. Tap like, subscribe, and share before the next surprise unfolds. A digital screen suddenly flashed red. An encrypted transmission had arrived. The technician quickly connected it to the main display. Instead of words, only static appeared. Then, a weak voice. "If anyone receives this." The room froze. "Don't trust." The signal disappeared. The final word never arrived. The technician replayed it. Again. 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 Each time it ended exactly the same way. "Don't trust." Adrian leaned closer. He wasn't interrupted. What? He stopped speaking on purpose. The technician looked confused. "Listen carefully." Everyone remained silent. The breathing. The background noise. The timing. Adrian pointed toward the speakers. Someone entered the room. Nobody else had noticed. General Hale slowly folded his arms. You heard that? I heard footsteps. Marcus smiled. That's why I asked for you. Outside, the wind became stronger. Dark clouds completely covered the mountains. A storm was coming. Not just in the sky. Inside the valley too. Adrian closed the folder. When do we leave? Marcus answered without hesitation. Immediately. Within 20 minutes, a transport aircraft lifted into the dark morning sky. There were no military markings. No flags. No numbers. Officially, the aircraft did not exist. Inside sat 6 carefully selected specialists. Lena Brooks, an expert pilot who could land almost anywhere. Owen Reed, a communications engineer, who could repair damaged networks under fire. Maya Torres, a combat medic known for staying calm during impossible situations. Ethan Cole, a survival tracker who could read footprints days after rain. Victor Shaw, an explosive specialist who believed every locked door had a solution. And Adrian, the man responsible for bringing everyone home, or making the impossible decision if they could not. No one spoke during the first hour. Everyone reviewed maps, equipment, escape routes, weather reports. Each person understood the mission carried unusual risks. After some time, Lena finally broke the silence. Captain. Yes. Do you think they're still alive? Adrian looked through the aircraft window. The endless mountains stretched beneath them. I don't know. But until I see proof otherwise. We bring everyone home. No one questioned that answer. 3 hours later, the aircraft's warning system suddenly sounded. Unknown radar. Lena looked surprised. That shouldn't be possible. Owen checked his monitor. Someone's tracking us. General Hale's voice came through the secure radio. You've been detected. By who? We don't know. Orders. Continue. The aircraft flew lower between the mountains. Towering cliffs surrounded them. Clouds reduced visibility to almost nothing. Then, something flashed across the cockpit. Lena pulled the controls sharply. What was that? Nobody answered. A second flash crossed beneath them. Not lightning. A drone. Fast. Silent. Watching them, Adrian immediately understood. We're not the first rescue team. He stared at the disappearing machine. We're being expected. Lena tightened her grip on the controls. I've never seen a drone move that fast. Owen kept watching his radar screen. It wasn't just watching us. It scanned us. Adrian remained calm. If they scanned us, they already know how many people are on board. Nobody answered. That single sentence made the silence even heavier. A loud warning suddenly filled the cockpit. Altitude. Altitude. Lena quickly pulled the aircraft upward as a massive rock wall appeared through the fog. So much for satellite navigation, she muttered. The storm is interfering with everything. Victor looked through the side window. We're flying blind. Adrian walked toward the cockpit. How much farther? 20 minutes if the weather doesn't get worse. And if it does? Lena smiled without looking away from the controls. We'll find out together. No one laughed. Outside, snowflakes began falling. Not enough to cover the mountains. Just enough to hide what waited below. The transport aircraft finally reached the edge of Black Ridge Valley. Everyone expected to see the research station. Instead, they saw darkness. The entire valley had no lights. No vehicles. No movement. It looked completely abandoned. But Adrian knew appearances often lied. Circle once. Lena guided the aircraft in a slow turn. Owen activated thermal imaging. I'm getting. Wait. What? There are heat signatures. How many? I can't tell. The screen flickered. They keep disappearing. Maya leaned closer. That's impossible. Owen shook his head. Either our equipment is damaged, or someone down there is hiding from satellites. Adrian's expression hardened. They prepared for visitors. The aircraft landed nearly 5 miles away from the research station inside a narrow clearing surrounded by thick pine trees. The engines shut down. Silence returned. Only the wind remained. The team climbed out one by one. Cold air immediately hit their faces. Ethan knelt beside the snow. There were vehicles here. When? Less than 12 hours ago. How many? He studied the tracks carefully. At least 8. Military? No. Professional? Very. Adrian looked toward the valley. We move. The team disappeared into the forest. Every step became slower. Every sound mattered. Birds had stopped singing. Even the wind seemed quieter. Experienced soldiers often trusted silence more than noise. Because forests were never truly silent. When they became silent, something was wrong. Half an hour later, Ethan suddenly raised his fist. Everyone froze. He pointed ahead. Fresh footprints. Dozens of them. Some large. Some small. One trail looked different. Someone had been dragged. Maya immediately noticed. There was an injured person. Victor crouched beside the marks. No. What do you mean? They weren't injured. They were tied. The dragging marks were perfectly straight. No straggle. No random movement. Only controlled force. Adrian slowly stood. This wasn't an evacuation. It was an abduction. The team exchanged worried looks. If the scientists had been taken alive. Someone wanted information. That was far worse than a simple attack. Minutes later they reached an abandoned observation tower overlooking the valley. The research station finally came into view. It looked untouched. Windows remained intact. Vehicles still sat in the parking area. The front gate stood open. Almost too open. Victor whispered. Looks peaceful. Adrian answered quietly. Exactly why I don't trust it. Owen raised a small drone. Let's take a closer look. The tiny aircraft lifted silently into the air. Its camera streamed live images. Empty roads. Empty buildings. Empty guard towers. Then, movement. Everyone leaned toward the screen. A shadow crossed between two buildings. Only for 1 second. Zoom. Owen enlarged the image. Nothing. The figure had vanished. Lena frowned. I saw someone. So did I, Maya replied. Adrian continued watching. Replay. The footage slowed. Frame by frame. There. A person. Wearing a white laboratory coat. Running. Looking behind them. Then disappearing into another building. They're alive. But running from what? No one had the answer. Suddenly, static covered the drone's video. The screen went black. Owen tried reconnecting. No signal. Victor looked toward the station. Battery. No. It was jammed. 1 second later, a loud explosion echoed through the valley. Everyone instinctively ducked. A fireball rose near the drone's last position. The drone had been destroyed. Adrian looked toward the smoke. They know we're here. For the first time since arriving. He smiled. Good. Because now, we know they're real. The team quietly prepared their equipment. Ahead of them waited an empty research station. Or at least, one that wanted to appear empty. The explosion rolled across the valley like thunder. Birds burst out of the trees, and the smoke slowly climbed into the cold sky. Adrian remained completely still, studying every building through his binoculars. Everyone else instinctively looked toward the fire, but Adrian watched the rooftops instead. He knew experienced enemies often created one distraction to hide another. After nearly 30 seconds, he lowered the binoculars. 3 observers. Lena looked surprised. Where? North Tower. Second laboratory roof. And behind the water tank. Nobody else had seen them. Victor finally spotted a tiny reflection. There. A scope lens flashed for less than a second before disappearing again. They're watching us, Victor whispered. Adrian nodded. And waiting for us to make the first mistake. The team quietly moved away from the observation tower and entered a narrow forest path leading toward the station. Ethan walked several steps ahead, checking every inch of the ground. He suddenly stopped. Tripwire. Victor carefully knelt beside it. It was almost invisible, connected to a small alarm device rather than an explosive. They don't want to kill everyone. They want to know exactly where we are. Victor carefully disconnected the wire. No alarm. The team continued. Only 50 meters later Ethan stopped again. Another wire. Then another. Then a pressure sensor hidden beneath fallen leaves. Lena quietly shook her head. This entire forest is an early warning system. Adrian looked toward the station. They've been preparing for visitors for days. As they moved deeper into the trees, Maya noticed something hanging from a broken branch. A piece of white cloth. She removed it carefully. It came from a lab coat. Adrian examined it. Fresh blood covered one edge. Not much. Just enough to suggest someone had escaped. Or tried to. There was a survivor, Maya whispered. And they came this way. Ethan searched the nearby ground. There are footprints. One person. Barely able to walk. Then he frowned. They suddenly disappear. Everyone looked around. There was no cliff. No river. No vehicle tracks. The footprints simply ended. Victor looked up. The trees. Everyone followed his eyes. One branch had fresh scratches. Someone had climbed. Adrian slowly scanned the area. Not climbed. Taken. High above, broken leaves marked where a cable had rubbed against the bark. A zip line. It leads back toward the station. Whoever escaped had been captured again. Without firing a single shot. 20 minutes later they finally reached the outer security fence. The main gate stood wide open. Its electronic lock had been melted. Not blown apart. Melted. Victor crouched beside it. This wasn't explosives. What then? Industrial cutting equipment. They wanted to preserve the structure. Owen examined nearby cameras. They're still powered, but disconnected. He plugged a portable drive into the security system. The monitor flickered. Then old recordings appeared. Everyone gathered around. The first hours showed normal activity. Scientists walking between buildings. Security guards laughing. Delivery trucks arriving. Then, everything changed. A convoy of black trucks entered through the front gate. No company logos. No license plates. Dozens of armed people stepped out. The guards immediately reached for their radios. The video suddenly froze. Owen replayed it. Again. Same result. It was erased. Victor frowned. Not erased. Overwritten. Professionally. Adrian stared at the final frozen image. One person remained visible. Standing beside the lead truck. Only the outline could be seen. Tall. Calm. Hands behind his back. Watching. Not moving. Almost like he knew the cameras would record him. Lena looked closely. Can you enhance it? Owen tried. The picture became clearer. The mysterious figure wore a long dark coat. No military uniform. No visible weapons. Only one unusual detail. A silver compass hanging from a chain around the person's neck. Maya looked confused. A compass? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he quietly closed the laptop. We're leaving. Victor blinked. What? We came to rescue survivors. Not investigate old footage. But if we stay focused on clues, we'll arrive too late. No one argued. That was exactly how Adrian had survived so many impossible missions. He never chased distractions. He chased people. The team entered the research station. The silence inside felt unnatural. Coffee cups still sat on desks. Computer screens remained on. Doors stood open. Someone had left in an incredible hurry. Or never had the chance to leave at all. Maya entered the medical wing. Everything looked untouched. Medicine cabinets remained full. Beds were neatly arranged. Until she reached the operating room. She stopped breathing for a second. The lights were still on. A heart monitor continued making slow electronic sounds. Beep, beep, beep. An empty hospital bed stood in the middle of the room. The machine was connected. But there was no patient. Only a small handwritten note taped beside the monitor. Maya slowly removed it. 3 words. Don't follow them. She immediately called Adrian. He read the message twice. Then folded it into his pocket. This wasn't left for the attackers. It was left for us. Suddenly, the electricity inside the building shut off. Darkness covered every hallway. Emergency red lights switched on. Then a calm voice echoed through hidden speakers. Captain Adrian Cross. The entire team froze. The voice continued. I've been waiting for you. Adrian slowly looked toward the ceiling. I know. A soft laugh echoed through the empty building. Good. Then you also know. This rescue mission ended yesterday. The speakers fell silent again. No footsteps. No movement. Only the distant sound of the wind outside. Adrian looked at his team. Stay together. From this moment on. Assume every room is occupied. The 6 of them quietly advanced deeper into the dark research station, unaware that dozens of hidden cameras were already following every step they took. The red emergency lights painted every hallway with a strange glow. Long shadows stretched across the walls, making the empty research station feel alive. Every step echoed through the silent building. Adrian moved first, carefully checking every doorway before signaling the others to follow. Nobody spoke. Everyone listened. Somewhere deep inside the building, a metal door slowly slammed shut. The loud sound echoed through every hallway. Victor quietly whispered, "That wasn't the wind." Adrian nodded. "I know." He raised 2 fingers. The team split into 2 groups exactly as they had practiced countless times before. Adrian, Maya, and Ethan moved toward the medical laboratories. Lena, Owen, and Victor headed toward the communications center. Every radio remained on. Every camera recorded. Every heartbeat felt louder than normal. Adrian carefully opened the first laboratory door. The room looked untouched. Microscopes remained on the tables. Research papers were scattered across the floor. Coffee inside a mug had completely dried. Someone had left in an incredible hurry. Maya noticed a family photograph lying beside a computer. A smiling scientist stood beside his wife and young daughter. Written across the bottom was a simple sentence. "See you Friday." Maya quietly sighed. He never made it home. Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he walked toward a large digital display still connected to emergency power. The screen showed a countdown. For hours 17 minutes and 39 seconds. Ethan frowned. What is that? Nobody knew. The timer continued moving. For hours. 17 minutes. 38 seconds. 37. 36. Adrian immediately unplugged the display. The countdown continued. It has its own power source. Whatever this is. It wasn't meant to stop. At the same time, Lena's team entered the communications room. Rows of computers surrounded the walls. Most had been destroyed. Hard drives were missing. Monitors smashed. Someone had removed every important piece of information. Victor examined the damage. They didn't panic. They cleaned the place. Owen connected his portable computer. Let's see if they missed anything. After several seconds, one hidden file appeared. It carried only one title. Project Atlas. Owen opened it. Access denied. Encrypted. Victor smiled. Can you break it? Owen smiled back. Give me 5 minutes. Suddenly, every computer screen inside the room turned on by itself. The same message appeared on each monitor. You are too late. Then, every monitor switched to live security cameras. Dozens of camera angles. Every hallway. Every staircase. Every room. Including the room Lena's team currently occupied. Someone was watching them in real time. Lena slowly looked directly into the nearest camera. I know you can hear us. Silence. Then a calm voice answered through hidden speakers. Of course I can. I've been watching since your aircraft entered the valley. Victor immediately searched the ceiling. No visible speakers. The voice laughed softly. You don't need to find me. You need to find your friends. The screens suddenly changed. Now they showed Adrian's team, walking through another hallway, completely unaware. The image zoomed in. A laser dot slowly appeared. On Ethan's back. Lena's eyes widened. No. She grabbed the radio. Captain. Static. Only static. The enemy had jammed every frequency. The laser disappeared. No shot followed. Only laughter echoed once more. I simply wanted you to know how close I can get. The screens went black. Meanwhile, Adrian's team reached the underground elevator. Emergency power still worked. The doors slowly opened. Cold air rushed upward. The underground level was much larger than anyone expected. Rows of reinforced steel doors stretched into darkness. Every door carried a number. Sector A, Sector B, Sector C, Sector D. Maya quietly asked, "How big is this place?" Adrian studied the building plans. The research station above ground is only 20% of the facility. The real project was hidden underground. Ethan looked ahead. This keeps getting worse. The elevator suddenly closed behind them by itself. Lights flickered, then stopped. Darkness. Complete darkness. Only Adrian's flashlight cut through the silence. Something moved ahead. Very quickly. Too quickly. Ethan instantly raised his weapon. "I saw someone." Adrian remained calm. No shooting. Another shadow crossed the hallway. Then another. Maya whispered, "There are multiple people." Adrian slowly moved forward. The hallway turned left. At the corner, he suddenly stopped. Fresh footprints. Hundreds of them. All leading toward one massive steel door. Written across it were two words. Corvault. Victor's voice suddenly came through the radio. "Captain, the signal had returned. Report. We found something." "What?" Owen answered instead. "We unlocked part of Project Atlas." "What did it say?" Silence. Then Owen spoke quietly. "This wasn't an energy project. It was a protection project." Adrian frowned. Protection from what? Another long pause. Finally, Owen answered. Someone predicted that a dangerous technology would fall into the wrong hands. The scientists weren't building it. They were hiding it. Adrian slowly looked toward the giant steel vault door. For the first time since entering the valley, he realized the mission briefing had been wrong from the beginning. They had never come to rescue a research team. They had unknowingly walked into a race to find something the entire world was never supposed to discover. Adrian placed one hand on the heavy vault door. It was warm. Someone had entered recently. Very recently. He looked at Maya. "Get ready." He looked at Ethan. "Cover the hallway." Then he slowly turned the massive locking wheel. A loud metallic sound echoed through the underground tunnel. The vault door opened. Only a few inches from inside. A frightened voice whispered, "Please, don't let them know I'm still alive." The frightened voice echoed from the darkness beyond the vault door. Adrian immediately raised one hand, signaling everyone to remain silent. Maya slowly lowered her flashlight, allowing only a thin beam of light to enter the opening. "Who are you?" Adrian asked calmly. For several seconds, there was no answer, only slow breathing. Then the voice returned. "If you came with the black convoy, finish it." "We're not with them," Adrian replied. Silence. The heavy steel door opened another few inches. A tired man slowly stepped into the light. His lab coat was torn. His beard had grown thick. His face showed days without proper sleep. Most shocking of all, one of his hands was wrapped tightly around a small metal case chained to his wrist. Maya carefully lowered her weapon. "I'm Dr. Elias Rowan. My team. They're gone." Adrian carefully looked around the vault. No one else. Dr. Rowan slowly shook his head. "I've been alone for 3 days." Ethan frowned. "We found signs that people were taken alive." They were. Where? Rowan looked toward the dark hallway. "They're underground." Adrian glanced around. "We're already underground." The scientist swallowed nervously. "No. You've only reached the first level." His words sent a chill through everyone. "There are deeper levels?" Rowan nodded. 2 more. And that's where they took everyone. Victor's voice crackled through the radio. "Captain, we've restored partial building power. Status. We've secured the communication room. No enemy contact." Adrian answered quickly. "Stay where you are. We found a survivor." The room became quiet again. Rowan suddenly grabbed Adrian's arm. "We have to leave. Now." Adrian looked directly into his eyes. "Why?" "They're watching." Before Adrian could ask another question, every light inside the underground corridor suddenly switched on. Bright white lights flooded every hallway. Then, a slow clap echoed through hidden speakers. One clap, then another, then another. The voice returned. "Congratulations, Captain. You found my last guest." Maya immediately searched the ceiling. Hidden cameras. Dozens of them. Every angle covered. The voice continued. I wondered how long it would take. Adrian remained calm. "Show yourself." A soft laugh answered him. "Patience. You'll meet me soon enough." Suddenly every screen mounted along the corridor turned on. Instead of maps, they showed live images. Rows of scientists sitting inside reinforced glass rooms. Some injured, some sleeping, some simply staring into space. Maya gasped. "They're alive." Rowan quietly whispered, "Most of them." The camera switched again. Now it showed another room. Inside sat 6 children between the ages of 10 and 15. None appeared hurt, but every face looked frightened. Victor's shocked voice came through the radio. "Children." Rowan closed his eyes. "They're not scientists. They're family. The attackers brought them here yesterday." Adrian's expression immediately changed. The mission had just become far more complicated. He wasn't only responsible for rescuing researchers anymore. There were innocent families trapped inside the underground complex. The mysterious voice returned. "I knew that would get your attention. You have exactly 4 hours. After that, the entire facility locks permanently." Ethan asked quietly, "Can he actually do that?" Rowan answered without hesitation. "Yes. He built the security system." Everyone turned toward him. "What?" Rowan looked ashamed. "I designed this place. I never imagined someone would use it against us." A loud metallic sound echoed somewhere below. The floor vibrated slightly. Victor spoke over the radio. "Captain, we're picking up movement." "How many?" "I can't tell." "There are too many." Adrian immediately made a decision. "Lena." "Yes. Bring everyone here. We stay together from now on." "Understood." Within minutes the second team reached the vault. Lena looked surprised when she saw Rowan. "So you really survived?" "For now," Rowan answered. Owen held up a tablet. "I finally broke the Atlas files." "What did you find?" Owen hesitated. "Captain, I think you should read this yourself." Adrian looked at the first page, then the second, then the third. His face became completely still. Maya noticed immediately. "What is it?" Adrian slowly lowered the tablet. The project wasn't meant to create unlimited energy. What? It was meant to hide something powerful enough to start a global conflict if it ever fell into the wrong hands. Victor frowned. "So what exactly is hidden here?" Rowan looked directly at everyone. "It isn't a weapon. It isn't money. It isn't gold." He slowly lifted the chain metal case attached to his wrist. "This is the only key capable of opening the final chamber." Everyone stared silently at the small metal case. It looked ordinary. Too ordinary. Yet dozens of armed people had attacked a secret research facility to obtain it. The mysterious leader spoke again through the speakers. "You've seen enough. Now it's my turn." The screen suddenly switched to a live camera. A tall man wearing a dark coat slowly walked into view. His face remained hidden by shadows. Only the silver compass hanging around his neck reflected the light. He smiled. "Welcome to the real game, Captain Adrian." Then the transmission ended. The underground facility became silent once more. No one spoke. No one moved. Everyone understood the same thing. The rescue mission was over. The hunt had just begun. The silence lasted only a few seconds. Then every light inside the underground corridor flashed 3 times. Dark. Light. Dark. Light. Dark. Light. A loud mechanical sound echoed beneath their feet. The entire facility trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling as ancient steel doors somewhere below slowly unlocked. Everyone instinctively looked toward Dr. Rowan. His face turned pale. "No," he whispered. He opened level 3. Adrian stepped closer. What happens on level 3? Rowan looked directly into his eyes. The security system stops protecting people and starts protecting the secret. No one liked the sound of that. Victor immediately opened the building blueprint again. I finally understand. He pointed toward the digital map. The station above us is only a cover. The first underground level stores research. The second level houses the scientists. And level 3. He stopped talking. Adrian finished the sentence. Was never meant to be entered. Rowan nodded. There are only 2 ways inside. The master key. He lifted the chain metal case. And another way? Rowan hesitated. There isn't one. Owen suddenly interrupted. There is. Everyone looked at him. The Atlas files mention an emergency maintenance tunnel. Rowan looked surprised. I thought those records were deleted. They almost were. Owen zoomed into an old construction map. The tunnel begins nearly half a mile west of this building. Victor smiled. So we don't need the front entrance. Rowan shook his head. You still don't understand. The tunnel leads inside. But nothing guarantees you'll come back. Adrian gathered everyone around. We have 2 priorities. First, rescue every hostage. Second, keep the key away from the enemy. Maya quietly asked, what if we fail? Adrian looked toward the dark hallway. Then no one leaves this mountain. Nobody questioned him. They already understood what was at stake. Suddenly, one of Owen's monitors beeped loudly. I've got movement. The screen displayed dozens of red dots. Then hundreds. Victor leaned closer. Those aren't people. What are they? Owen enlarged the image. Small machines. Moving quickly through underground tunnels. They're drones. Ethan frowned. How many? Owen slowly swallowed. I stopped counting after 200. A deep humming sound echoed through the walls. The drones were already moving toward them. Lena immediately secured the vault entrance. Victor began placing defensive devices along the corridor. None of them were explosives powerful enough to destroy the building. Only enough to slow anything approaching. Maya prepared emergency medical supplies. Adrian quietly watched every hallway. Listening. Waiting. Then, a tiny metallic sound. Click. 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 The sound grew louder. Closer. Finally, the first drone appeared around the corner. It was no larger than a football. For silent rotors. A bright blue camera. No visible weapons. Victor whispered. That's not a combat drone. Then another appeared. Then another. Soon dozens floated into the corridor. None attacked. None moved aggressively. They simply stopped. Watching. Every camera pointed directly at Adrian. The mysterious voice returned. I wanted to see the famous captain with my own eyes. Adrian remained calm. You've seen enough. The voice laughed. I've only just begun. Every drone suddenly projected the same image onto the walls. The silver compass. Rotating slowly. Then words appeared beneath it. Every hero has a price. The projections disappeared. The drones quietly flew away. Nobody fired. Nobody spoke. Ethan finally broke the silence. They were sending a message. No. Adrian answered. They were measuring us. Several minutes later, the team reached the hidden maintenance tunnel. It was hidden behind a collapsed storage room. Rust covered the heavy steel hatch. Rowan entered a long security code. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. Victor stepped forward. The electronics are dead. He removed several tools. 5 minutes later, the lock clicked. The hatch slowly opened. Cold air rushed upward. A narrow staircase disappeared into darkness. No lights. No sound. Only blackness. Lena shined her flashlight downward. I can't even see the bottom. Rowan quietly whispered. It goes almost 300 feet underground. Victor looked surprised. That's not a tunnel. That's another world. Adrian turned toward his team. We stay together. No héroes. No one falls behind. Everyone nodded. They began descending. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. The walls changed from concrete to polished steel, then from steel to smooth black stone unlike anything they had seen before. Maya touched it. This wasn't mined. Rowan answered quietly. It was built. 30 minutes later, the stairs finally ended. Before them stood an enormous circular door. Unlike every other door inside the facility, this one had no handle, only a single keyhole. Rowan slowly lifted the chain metal case. This is where everything changes. Adrian looked at the silent team, then at the giant door, then back toward the endless staircase behind them. Somewhere above, hundreds of innocent people waited to be rescued. Somewhere ahead, the enemy leader was waiting. Adrian slowly drew a deep breath. Open it. Rowan inserted the key. A deep metallic rumble echoed through the mountain. The circular door slowly began to rotate. As a thin gap appeared, a warm golden light spilled through the darkness. Then, a child's voice echoed from inside. Is someone finally here to help us? The warm golden light poured through the slowly opening doorway, pushing back the darkness that had surrounded the team for hours. Every member of the rescue unit instinctively raised their weapons, expecting an ambush. Instead, they heard laughter. Not the laughter of enemies. The innocent laughter of children. For a brief moment, nobody moved. Adrian slowly stepped through the opening. The enormous chamber before them looked nothing like a military bunker. Instead of gray steel walls, the room was covered with polished white panels reflecting the soft golden light. Hundreds of advanced computers surrounded the circular hall, while a massive transparent sphere floated in the center, slowly rotating without making a sound. Near one corner of the chamber stood 6 frightened children. As soon as they saw Adrian, the youngest girl ran toward him. You came. We thought nobody would. Maya immediately knelt beside the children. It's okay. You're safe now. The little girl shook her head. No. They're still here. Her words instantly changed the atmosphere. Adrian scanned the enormous room. Nothing moved. No footsteps. No guards. No alarms. Yet his instincts told him they were not alone. Victor. Check every entrance. Lena. Secure the children. Owen. I want every camera in this room. Everyone quickly moved into position. Meanwhile, Dr. Rowan slowly approached the glowing sphere. His hands trembled. I never thought I'd see it active. Adrian walked beside him. What exactly is it? Rowan stared silently at the rotating structure. For years the world believed we were building a new energy source. That was the cover story. So what is this? Rowan took a deep breath. It isn't a machine that creates power. It protects information. What kind of information? The kind nations would fight wars to control. The room became silent again. Adrian understood why so many people had disappeared trying to protect this place. The glowing sphere wasn't valuable because of money. It was valuable because of knowledge. Knowledge powerful enough to change the future. Suddenly Owen's tablet beeped. Captain, I found every camera. Can you shut them down? Owen looked confused. There aren't any. What? I've scanned the entire room. No cameras. No microphones. No wireless signals. Victor looked around. Then how are we being watched? Before anyone answered, a familiar voice echoed through the chamber. You've finally reached the heart of the mountain. Everyone immediately recognized it. The mysterious man with the silver compass. This time, the voice wasn't coming from speakers. It came from directly behind them. Every member of the team turned at once. Standing near the entrance was the tall man in the dark coat. His face was finally visible. He looked calm, clean-shaven, almost friendly. Nothing about him suggested violence. Yet everyone instinctively knew he was the most dangerous person they had ever faced. He slowly removed the silver compass from around his neck. My name is Nathan Vale. No masks. No lies. Just the truth. Adrian never lowered his weapon. You've caused enough suffering. Nathan smiled sadly. Have I? He looked toward the children. Did I hurt them? No. The scientists. I fed them. I treated their injuries. I kept them alive. Victor stepped forward. You kidnapped them. Nathan nodded. Yes. Because someone else was coming. Everyone remained silent. Nathan slowly walked toward the glowing sphere. If governments take control of this technology, millions will fight over it. If criminal organizations steal it, millions more will die. So I removed everyone before either side arrived. Rowan angrily interrupted. You murdered innocent guards. Nathan's expression changed. I never ordered anyone killed. The room fell silent. Adrian watched Nathan carefully. For the first time, something didn't fit. Nathan spoke with complete confidence. Not like a criminal. Not like a soldier. Like someone carrying an impossible burden. Owen suddenly interrupted. Captain, I've just accessed the Hidden Atlas archive. What does it say? His eyes widened as he read. It confirms Nathan's story. Everyone looked at Owen. The project directors expected governments to fight over this technology. They secretly created evacuation plans years ago. Nathan quietly nodded. I tried warning them. They ignored me. So you kidnapped everyone? Lena asked. I rescued them. Nathan answered calmly. From the people who were coming after me. Before Adrian could respond, a deafening explosion shook the chamber. The lights flickered violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Victor immediately checked his scanner. Captain. New movement. Where? Surface level. How many? Victor's face turned pale. Hundreds. Large armored vehicles had just entered the research station above. Owen opened the security cameras. The entire screen filled with soldiers wearing black tactical uniforms. They weren't Nathan's people. They were someone else. Even Nathan slowly turned toward the monitors. His calm expression disappeared for the first time. No. He whispered. They found us. Adrian looked at him. Who are they? Nathan answered without taking his eyes off the screens. The real enemy. The camera zoomed toward the lead vehicle. Its door opened. A woman stepped out wearing a gray tactical coat. Unlike everyone else. She carried no visible weapon. Only a black folder. Nathan quietly closed his eyes. I hoped she'd never find this place. Adrian frowned. You know her? Nathan nodded. Better than anyone. Who is she? Nathan slowly answered. My former partner. And she's far more dangerous than I ever was. Outside. The first explosions echoed across the research station. The final battle had begun. The first explosion echoed through the mountain like thunder. Dust rained from the ceiling as the glowing chamber shook beneath everyone's feet. Emergency lights flashed red across the walls, replacing the warm golden light with an urgent warning. The security monitors showed the surface above. Black armored vehicles surrounded the research station from every direction. Helicopters circled overhead. Hundreds of armed soldiers rapidly entered every building. This wasn't a rescue operation. It was a takeover. Adrian looked at Nathan. You said they were the real enemy. Nathan nodded. They don't want to protect the Atlas project. They want to own it. The lead woman calmly stepped out of her vehicle and looked directly into a security camera, almost as if she knew Adrian was watching. My name is Director Serena Knox. I'm giving everyone underground exactly 10 minutes. Open the chamber. Or I'll bury this mountain forever. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Nobody doubted she meant every word. Adrian turned toward his team. Status. Victor answered first. They've sealed every exit. Owen looked at his tablet. Our communications are blocked again. Lena checked the children. They're frightened but safe. Maya nodded. The rescued scientists can still move. Dr. Rowan slowly walked toward the glowing Atlas sphere. We have one final option. Everyone looked at him. What option? He gently placed his hand against the sphere. When we built Atlas, we included one emergency protocol. Nathan immediately understood. No. Rowan looked at him. It's the only way. Adrian stepped closer. What happens? Rowan quietly answered. The entire database destroys itself. Victor stared at him. You can erase everything? Every document. Every formula. Every design. Every secret. Nathan closed his eyes. Years of research. Gone forever. Rowan slowly smiled. Better destroyed than used to start another war. No one argued. Deep down, everyone knew he was right. Suddenly, the chamber door exploded inward. Smoke filled the entrance. Armed soldiers rushed inside. Move. Hands where we can see them. Adrian's team instantly took cover. The firefight began. Victor threw a flash device across the floor. A brilliant white light filled the chamber. The attackers stumbled backward. Lena guided the children behind reinforced equipment. Maya protected the injured scientists. Ethan moved silently through the smoke, disarming 2 attackers without firing a shot. Nathan fought beside Adrian. For the first time, they stood on the same side. Neither trusted the other completely, but both understood the greater danger. More soldiers entered. Then more. The chamber echoed with shouting, alarms, and flying debris. Adrian shouted, "Hold them. We only need a few more minutes." Rowan reached the main control console. A final security prompt appeared. Confirm emergency deletion? He looked back one last time. Years of work. Years of sacrifice. One single decision. He pressed. Yes. The Atlas sphere immediately changed color. Golden light slowly turned blue. Then white. Then. Every screen inside the facility displayed the same message. Archive deletion in progress. Serena Knox watched from a monitor outside. No. She ordered every available unit underground. But it was already too late. One by one, every file disappeared. Research logs, blueprints, algorithms, energy models, security codes, everything. Nathan quietly smiled. It's over. Rowan nodded. No one will ever use Atlas again. Suddenly the facility shook violently. Owen shouted, "The power core is collapsing." Victor looked toward the ceiling. This place won't survive much longer. Adrian immediately made his decision. Everyone evacuate. The team helped the children and scientists toward the maintenance tunnel. Pieces of concrete crashed around them. Lights exploded overhead. Smoke filled every corridor. The mountain itself seemed alive. Behind them, Serena Knox finally reached the central chamber. She looked at the empty screens. Years of planning. Gone. She screamed in frustration as the final file disappeared forever. The Atlas sphere cracked. A bright white light burst from its center. Then, everything went dark. The rescue team climbed through the maintenance tunnel as fast as possible. The children encouraged one another. Scientists helped injured friends. Nobody was left behind. Exactly as Adrian promised, they finally reached the surface. Only seconds later, a deep roar echoed across the valley. The underground facility collapsed beneath the mountain. Dust rose high into the sky. Then, silence. The secret was gone forever. Rescue helicopters arrived shortly afterward. Medical teams rushed to the survivors. Families reunited with tears of relief. The children ran into the arms of their parents. Scientists thanked the rescue team one by one. Rowan quietly handed Adrian the now empty metal key case. It doesn't open anything anymore. Adrian smiled. That's exactly how it should be. Nathan looked toward the sunrise. What happens to me now? Adrian answered honestly. You'll answer for the choices you made. Nathan nodded. I expected that. But at least, the secret died with the mountain. Several months later, the abandoned valley had already begun returning to nature. Trees slowly covered the ruins. Snow hid what remained of the research station. No signs told visitors what had once existed there. Official reports described the incident as a natural disaster. The truth remained known only to a handful of people. One morning, Adrian stood quietly on a nearby hill. Lena joined him. Do you ever think about Atlas? He smiled. Sometimes. Do you regret destroying it? Adrian looked toward the rising sun. No. The greatest victory isn't creating something powerful. It's knowing when the world isn't ready for it. Lena smiled. And now? Adrian started walking down the mountain. Now, we wait for the next mission. The two disappeared into the morning light as hope replaced fear, proving that true heroes are remembered not because of the battles they win, but because of the lives they choose to protect.